7 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, October 30th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. We're less than a week away from the elections. Tuesday, November 4th, Election Day. If you still got your ballot at this point, you need to drop it off in person. I'm not sure you can mail it in order for it to get there in time. So make sure you drop it off in person or just vote in person on November 4th. We still allow that to happen, even though 90% of Coloradans vote via mail-in ballot. But I'm interested in talking with those that are out there meeting and connecting with constituents directly. Robin Carnes, who's running for Centennial City Council, teaming up with others, have knocked 500 doors. What are they hearing as they walk the streets of their community? I'm intrigued to hear what they think are going to be the major issues in this election and how they think things are going to go. Lots of school board seats up. Lots of city council seats up as well. So you're not going to want to miss this conversation. Now it's time, though, for news and comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good morning, Thursday, 37 and clear outside in Denver, expecting a high of 55 today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, it's day 30 of the Schumer shutdown, and some senators expressing optimism in finally ending the stalemate. Senate Majority Leader John Thune says bipartisan talks have ticked up significantly to end the shutdown. Over 40 million Americans who depend on food benefits may see their aid come to an end on Saturday.
And it feels very warm seeing you again because it's been many years since your re-election. We have spoken on the phone 3 times, exchanged several letters, and stayed in close contact.
That's the interpreter for Xi Jinping this morning. 47 says he's reached a deal with China on rare earth minerals used to make consumer electronics. Trump announced the one-year deal after his meeting with the Chinese president in South Korea. He is returning to the U.S. today. The deal would also see fentanyl-linked tariffs on China lowered by 10%. Scott Bessent, last hour on Fox Business.
The massive amount of agriculture purchases that the Chinese are going to be doing in this agreement. So the Chinese have agreed to buy 12 million metric tons of soybeans during this season. Right now, between now and the should be January, and then for the next 3 years, they're going to be buying a minimum of 25 million metric tons per annum for the next 3 years. What I would expect is, as President Trump did in 2020, after President Xi had agreed to the Phase 1 deal, he called him regularly and got him to buy more, and that number went up much higher.
So DJT says the meeting on a scale of 1 to 10 was a 12. Very productive meeting with Xi early this morning. The FAA wants additional time to review the land swap Denver offered to Westside Investment Partners. The developer agreed to give Denver the former Park Hill Golf Course property in exchange for 145 acres of land near DIA. Denver had to add 20 acres to its original offer after fiber lines were found under the DIA land. City council members were informed Wednesday that the FAA is looking into the change and expects to finish its review by November 21st.
This seems like a big nothing burger with this city council, right? So
yes, I agree.
They do this land swap, and then they realize, whoa, there's fiber optic line that runs right underneath it. So, okay. Well, we can't just hand the developer the land because we got this fiber optic line. We can't drill right through it or tear up the ground or anything like that. So we're just going to shift it to the right. And the city council's like, you did not consult with us about this decision.
Yes.
What? Do you know how important I am? You shifted the land to the right? What? So, yeah,
it does.
So
I agree
stupid.
with you. It is. I agree with you. That's the way it appears to me also. A large turnout in Mississippi last night at a Turning Point USA event. VP JD was there. This, I think, was the best part.
Policies that hurt us, and these policies are not even solving the problems. These policies are just creating chaos.
Ma'am. Okay, so again, I'm gonna finish answering the question, and then if I've answered all 9 of your questions in less than 15 minutes, then we can keep. We got to have a little fun, right? So here's the thing. I can believe that the United States should lower its levels of immigration in the future, while also respecting that there are people who have come here through lawful immigration pathways that have contributed to the country. But just because one person or 10 people or 100 people came in legally and contributed to the United States of America, does that mean that we're thereby committed to let in 1 million or 10 million or 100 million people a year in the future? No, that's not right. We cannot have, I'll go and finish. We cannot have an immigration policy where what was good for the country 50 or 60 years ago binds the country inevitably for the future. There's too many people who want to come to the United States of America, and my job as vice president is not to look out for the interests of the whole world. It's to look out for the people of the United States. Now,
Thank you. Thank you. I got to pause that thing. Thank you very much. Well done on that one. Nuggets played host to the Pelicans last night.
Now the Nuggets on the run. Murray's got it. Murray, tricky. Give it to Jokic, and he puts it away with authority.
Oh, Christopher Marlowe, nice job. Nikola Jokic, another triple-double, 21, 12, and 10. Ties for the best start in NBA history, 122-88. Nuggets are 3-1. The Blazers here tomorrow night. World Series Game 5 last night.
So you want to throw strikes, you want to pound that strike zone.
Chopper to third, Clements to second, over to first, double play, a World Series masterpiece.
5-4-3, you savage through 7, and it's 5-1 Blue Jays.
Wow. Trey Savage, a rookie, record 12 Ks, holds the Dodgers to just 1, 6-1 final. Toronto leads it 3-2 as it heads back to Toronto. 32 in Englewood, 33 in Brighton, 35 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Cool but sunny weather on tap for this Wednesday for Denver in the Front Range. Going to be a nice stretch of autumn weather to take us through the rest of the week, through Halloween and into the weekend. Temperatures will be 50s to near 60 degrees. Clear tonight, low to mid-30s. Mostly sunny and 50s Thursday, near 30 Thursday night. We will have a few more clouds on Halloween. Halloween, we're sideswiped by a front, but it will just produce clouds, keep us cool in the low 50s. But we're going to warm to the 60s, even some 70-degree temperatures possible this weekend. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Well, we're less than a week away from some pretty significant elections here in Colorado. School board, city council. And I saw this, and I wanted to get a sense from her what she's hearing. Robin Carnes, running for city council. She's running to be reelected to her seat on the Centennial City Council here, has teamed up with others and knocked on 500 doors. And I'm fascinated to hear what she's hearing from other folks out there, particularly on the campaign trail. What are the top issues? What's important to them? How are things going to turn out next Tuesday? She joins us now. Good morning, Robin. Thank you for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Good morning, Jeff and Bill. Hey, thank you for having me on so early. I want to say this is a critical election. Centennial's at a real turning point. The reason I say that is because 5 of our 9 council seats are up for grabs, including the mayor's this November. So we're going to see a direction for Centennial. It may shift dramatically, or it may stay on course, keeping Centennial the number 1 city in all of Colorado that it is. I will tell you, Jeff, as you've been asking, what are we hearing as we've knocked on over 500 doors? We've gone over 500 miles, right? As we're talking with constituents, we ask them, what keeps you up at night? And are you happy with the city? And 9 times out of 10, people are very happy with Centennial. But we've had a lot of comments about, but we're not happy with what the state is doing. And there's this growing concern that the state is not staying in their lane, and that they're coming and encroaching upon municipalities like Centennial, and they're really eroding home rule. Home rule is simply the idea that we have a charter which our constituents developed over 25 years ago. We're about to celebrate our 25th anniversary, so happy birthday to Centennial in February, actually, of 2026. And the residents came together from both sides of the aisle and said, we want our own city, and we want to be governed by the people, which means really that's how government should be, right? We as elected officials should be working for the constituents versus doing our own thing and having our own agendas. And that's really what's at stake right now, because home rule is sort of under siege. It's being threatened. We've seen legislation come out of the state that is unfriendly to what the constituents have decided upon for Centennial based on our home rule charter. A charter is just a guide that the residents determined would be best, stating that Centennial residents know what's best for Centennial, and we don't need anyone else telling us how to do it.
That's Robin Carnes. She currently sits on the Centennial City Council running for re-election. Centennial is one of 6 cities that have sued Governor Jared Polis in light of this effort to basically force high-density multifamily development onto your communities, saying that we want more apartments, we want more people living in your communities, and if you don't do what we tell you to, because we want to turn Denver and all of its suburbs into a major city that people that ride RTD, by the way, we were covering that in our first hour. But you guys are fighting back against this. It sounds like you have the support of your constituents. Is that right?
We do. And here's what I want to just clarify. We're actually not we're not one of the 6 cities that are suing the state. Those cities are all very unique in that, but we are in strong support of it, because here's the thing, Centennial has pretty much complied with everything the state is requiring. We know that housing is an issue in Colorado, especially in Centennial, but there are many, many facets that are impacting that. We see in Centennial a lack of housing for seniors, for instance. There's no place to downsize. If we can fix that, then new families can move in. It will help with our school systems, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, the problem is there's no boundaries, meaning, like you said, Jeff, they've done away with any requirements for parking. And we know that density is okay in some areas, say along the I-25 corridor, but we are not in favor of going into a neighborhood and disrupting its neighborhood and the charm and the character of which so many neighborhoods entail, because Centennial is a city of neighborhoods. We're not in favor of that. We're not a one-size-fits-all. And I don't think we became the number 1 city in all of Colorado by just forcing more and more housing upon our constituents. Now, let me just tell you something that is not being shared. And I consider myself a mouthpiece, and so let's get the word out. Right now, Arapahoe County, which Centennial is part of, has over 90,000 units. That's 90,000 behind it. 90,000 units that have been approved for housing, say townhomes, condos, that sort of thing. But between red tape and legislation, between crazy high labor costs, and et cetera, we can't get those built. So it's not just shoving us more housing. In fact, I'm in real estate. And right now, on my street alone, we have over 4 homes for sale. This is entry-level, working-class neighborhood, right? We've been in our home for over 22 years. We're not going anywhere because it's so expensive to live here in Colorado. Thank you, legislatures, right, as well. But many people are stressing out because maybe they have their house paid off, right, but they can't afford property taxes. So let's just make sure when we're promoting more housing, let's make sure we have the facts straight. Facts are our friends, and let's make sure they're all out there.
It's Robin Carnes. She currently sits on the Centennial City Council running for re-election along with 5 others that make up a big majority portion of the Centennial City Council. Yes. What happens if you all lose? What will be the direction of Centennial?
Centennial is going to go the way of Denver, and Centennial will go the way of the majority of where the state is right now. There is no doubt about it. And so I've had real conversations with constituents about they're not sure if they can stand it. They're interested in perhaps moving. We're seeing a lot of folks, over 51%, this was last year, in fact, over 51% of Coloradans decided they were contemplating, do we need to move? Because we just can't afford where the state has gone. So I think that's just a travesty. One of my number one issues is affordability. How do we keep the taxes low? How do we make it affordable for our city? And I have 4 other, candidates / colleagues that also are truly in support of this. And just stating, if you like Centennial, if your life is better in Centennial right now, then let's not rock the boat. But if you're unhappy with Centennial in any way, shape, or form, then maybe it constitutes a change. Most people that I've talked to, again, they're happy with the city, but they're very concerned about what's coming from the state.
You guys are getting better on crime issues as well. According to the Common Sense Institute, Centennial has had a drop in 20% in violent crime the last few years and a drop in 49% in property crime. What do you attribute that to?
Yes, I attribute that to our current council, of which one of our wonderful mayor, Stephanie Pico, she is termed out. And so we're really hoping to see Don Sheehan become the next mayor of Centennial. He is endorsed by Mayor Pico, as well as myself. And I tell you what, we have just decided that we've listened to our residents. We know crime and public safety is one of the number one concerns of Centennial. And so even when, say, our neighboring jurisdiction and a number of around us, including the county, maybe have lessened the backing and the financial support of, say, Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office, we have given them more because it's what our constituents wanted, right? And so we have, instead of cutting, that is not one of the places we've cut. We've actually approved additional funding just to make sure that our first responders have the resources, the tools, those types of things that they need to do their job well so our residents can sleep well at night.
That's Robin Carnes, candidate for Centennial City Council, current councilwoman, joining Jeff and Bill live. You've gone out and you've knocked on 500 doors in all the constituents that you've talked to. Is there any issue that you've heard repeatedly from the constituents that somewhat surprised you? And what I mean by that is, oftentimes when you have football coaches sitting around talking to each other, you hear about football coach problems, not player problems. Sometimes when groups of city council and legislators get together, you hear about legislative problems. In fact, Denver Metro was talking about starting a citizen board because they don't know what the citizens want. So what I'm asking is, when you're out there talking to the constituents, are there any issues or concerns that surprise you? Something that the regular conversation, regular news coverage hasn't focused on, but it was somewhat of a surprise when you were talking to them. Not saying it's like, oh my God, we got to solve this, but just some sort of an issue, either positive or negative, that you were not expecting.
Well, normally when you ask people, are you happy with the city? They're going to come up with something that makes them dissatisfied. And I have to tell you, we just haven't heard a lot. I wish I could give you a better answer, Bill, but no, really, really not. I mean, the obvious one that does surface is a lot of our retail centers are struggling, right? Let's just take, for instance, in District 1, we have Streets of South Glen, which is an incredible anchor on the west side of Centennial. But many, many retail centers have struggled just because people are buying online. There's not as much foot traffic at, say, Streets of South Glen. Another one that just surfaced is the closing of a major King Soopers along Arapahoe Road in District 2. And so that sort of creates a food desert. Well, your King Soopers also is primary for pharmacy. And so then all of a sudden, for instance, I'm in my King Soopers on a Sunday afternoon, and it's just, there's an influx of people, and I'm thinking, where have all these folks come from? Well, they've come from District 2 because their King Soopers is closed. So really, really basic needs that everyday things that we take for granted, food, water, that sort of thing, those are becoming an issue, which makes for, it's more expensive then, if you think about it. Now, that was a decision made by King Soopers corporate. That was not made by Centennial, right? But we're seeing issues with the retail centers, and I'll talk about zip codes too, and these tie together. When you think about your retail centers, they are the greatest tax generators, which then we use that tax revenue to fix the streets and for infrastructure. Well, if your revenue centers are struggling, then that means we have less infrastructure funding to fix the roads and the potholes and streetlights and that sort of thing. So that's an issue. The other issue that a lot of people are unaware of is because Centennial, it's a younger city, there's probably 6 different zip codes that make up Centennial. When I type in my address, it still pops up as Littleton, right? And so in some places, that means that our revenue, because we have such crazy tax laws here in Colorado, when I buy something, that revenue is going to be linked to my zip code. So it's going to go to Littleton versus, say, Centennial. And so we're working right now to make sure that we are receiving all of our intended tax dollars that we should, because that directly impacts infrastructure and the funding that we need then to keep the city safe and strong.
Ooh, that's something unexpected. Yeah. I had not expected that idea of the tax money being funneled in the wrong direction simply because of the overlapping of the zip codes. That's something I hadn't considered. Exactly. That is a huge problem. And I'm certain it's one that Littleton's not, starting to jump to help you work out. They're getting a bunch of free money. Right. Yeah. They're not worried about that one at all.
Exactly. Well, every single municipality and jurisdiction, we see it with South Metro Fire and Rescue District right now. Every single entity is struggling, and they're all saying, okay, if you want to keep your same level of service, something's going to have to shift. And nobody likes to have that conversation, but that is the truth. And so now it's important that we go to our taxpayers and ask them, what do you want? Again, we work for the people. So we need to go to the taxpayers and ask that question versus just making these decisions on our own, say like the state legislature did with things last fall and last spring that deeply impacted, say, our fire and rescue and first responders, where there was just money that was done away with. And now how do they make up for that change? That's what we have to be very candid about. And I'll also say, there's a trickle down effect. So there's a lot of candidates right now that are running in Centennial, and it is up to the voters not to be lazy. Would you do your homework? Do your research. See who is backing who. Because if you want to go the way of Denver, there's a real clear path for who to vote for. Okay, it's very obvious. But if you don't want to go that way, then make sure you do not vote for those folks.
That's Robin Carnes.
Which I'm not one of them.
Robin's currently on the Centennial City Council and is running for re-election. I wonder why you think the suburbs have gone so progressive. I've watched a 20-point shift in Douglas County, for instance, and it used to be Denver was blue, and then all the suburbs around it, Jeffco, Arapahoe, Douglas, were all red. Jeffco's gone blue, Arapahoe's gone blue. Douglas County, Highlands Ranch, for instance, has a Democrat that represents them down at the Colorado State Capitol. Why did the suburbs of Colorado go so progressive in your mind?
I wish I knew. A really startling statistic Jeff, that I was made aware of just a couple months ago. I was at an event down in Denver, and they revealed polling or just data on. They asked Denver voters, "Are you in favor, say, of socialism or capitalism?" 48% said they were in favor of socialism versus capitalism. Now, my jaw dropped, right? But then when they said, and the ironic part is it has nothing to do with party affiliation. It has everything to do with age demographic. So unfortunately, I'm going to go to our schools. I look at what's happening in our schools. I look at the fact that parents are very busy, right? And so it's easy to maybe not be as informed. One of the things I've heard on the campaign trail is, I don't pay much attention to local elections. I take things for granted. So unfortunately, we take the easy way out as voters when you should be most focused on your local elections because it's the closest thing to you. And most of those local representatives are going to answer their phone. They're going to answer their text messages, right? They're going to answer their emails. At least I do. I've got a 24-hour policy that I need to get back to everybody within 24 hours because that's just good business. And so I think what's happening is there's been a shift. There's been an unfortunate complacency, and now it is catching up. And let's just not ignore the fact that I think that's part of the target. Some of you know I made a run for Colorado State Senate last fall. I went after an incumbent, only losing by 4%. 4% when I should have had my tail kicked. Okay, 98% of the time, your incumbents will win. But we were very pleased with those numbers. And here's what he said in his victory letter. Now that we've taken nearly every state seat, right, House seat, every Senate seat, let's go after school boards, city councils, and county commissioner races. Okay, that's happening. So they have heard it from the top. I think you add to that, there is just chaos when it comes to the party. Let's be real. When you look at the GOP right now, unfortunately, there is a lot of chaos. And I'm just going to call things out. When we can't coalesce and come together for the sake of winning, and when we focus on the minors versus the majors, that's a pride issue. And we need to resolve it. If our number one focus is to win and keep the left from taking over every square inch of this state, we have to put our differences aside. We don't have to become squishy. We become sensible, and we focus laser sharp on the bullseye, which is we have to win. If we don't win, we will not have a seat at the table. So, for instance, I am registered with the party, but I'm also a forwardist. Okay. And this is the third largest party that is growing of independents. And it's basically saying that not left, not right. We need to go forward and do what is best for our residents. And so I think that we have to take a good, long, hard look at what really matters, right? It's not just party affiliation. It is not just partisan politics. It is doing what's best for the citizens.
That's Robin Carnes, candidate and current Centennial City Council, looking for your vote to be reelected. 5 of the 9 council members are up for reelection. So if you like the direction Centennial's going, you have a vote. Go ahead and support them. Now, Rob, I just wanted to offer just a little bit possibly of advice when you were talking about the capitalism and socialism dynamic. I caution you to not just focus on the educational system. I think when the answer to this is, well, obviously these kids are learning it in school, I'm going to tell you, in my opinion, you need to expand what you're looking at. And what I mean by that is those individuals that have entered the workforce in the past decade and look at their experience. In their experience right now, they're out there, humped to the grindstone, and what they're getting is not a lot of time off, not a lot of raises. They're not being able to pay for health care. They have a hard time affording jobs. They have a hard time. How do you have a kid because you can't pay for child care if you have a dual income family? How do you afford, at the bottom end of the workforce, afford having one of the people, if it's a relationship as far as a marriage, stay home? And the other thing is they are just one major accident or health issue away from a medical bankruptcy. And so what I believe the problem is in that younger generation is They've come out of school, regardless of the indoctrination, and they have entered the capitalist system. And what they've been told is in capitalism, you work hard, you show up, you achieve, and you add something to the company or employer, and you get ahead. That's not being proven out.
You
They're out
think
there
they're
doing the 40.
learning that in school?
No,
you
hang
think
on.
they're learning that in school?
Yes, I do.
No,
because,
they're not.
Yes, hang on. But
they're
hang on.
learning that there's oppressors and oppressed.
I know,
out
but
there.
hang on a sec. Hang on. I think you're missing the point. If they came out of school, let's say they are a dyed-in-the-wool socialist, okay? Let's just assume that. But the person coming out of school gets into the capitalist system and is able to get a job, get a raise, and buy a house. It disproves everything they've been taught about socialism. What I'm saying is, on the bottom end of the economic spectrum right now, there are people that are there that are
They're
working
baristas.
that sees
That's the reason why, and they have
that
purple
sees
hair.
capitalism failing.
All right,
that's part of the issue. When you have the younger kids saying they can never afford a house, that's where they start doubting whether or not the system works. I'm just saying, be careful.
Robin, go ahead, please.
You bring up a good point. I would not disagree with you, Bill. I would not disagree. I think the educational component is one, but you're right. And we didn't get here overnight. Let's just be really clear. And so we're not going to get out of this overnight. But you bring up some really, really, really good points. It's a lot of them feel like they've been lied to. I also think, I'm just going to share this. I think we really have to go back to needs versus wants, right? Because when you have instant gratification, like the last 10 years has produced, and for me too, for instance, let's just take the housing issue, right? Again, as a real estate agent, everybody wants to live in Centennial. Well, why would you not want to live in Centennial? We're the number one city in all of Colorado, right? But the truth of the matter is not everybody can afford it. And so my advice to a lot of buyers, potential buyers, is go buy somewhere else that's a little more affordable and then build up equity so then you can move in. It's this idea that when we first moved to Colorado, we lived in Lowry and we loved it. We would live in a Park Hill, but we couldn't afford it. So we moved down south to Centennial, a place that was affordable. So it's this whole, what are your needs versus your true wants, right? We can't have this instant gratification. I think that plays a role too. And the lie is that socialism works. It doesn't. Show me where. Show me where it's worked successfully.
And
we know that.
Mom Donnie is a great example of this. Dude's got a degree in Africana studies. Never had a real job. He's about to become the mayor of the largest city in the country. Yeah, I don't think college is preparing kids well. Well, Robin Carnes, I appreciate what you're doing. You can go to our website, which is carnesforcentennial.com, CARNES for centennial.com, carnesforcentennial.com. Look, it's had the largest drop in property crime out of all the major cities in the Denver metro area. It's a safer place because of the leadership of people like Robin Carnes. So keep her in office, keep the good people there, and keep Centennial going in the right direction. All right, Robin, thank you for your time this morning.
Yeah, thanks for the time.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
All right, would love to hear from you. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Capitalist Law text line, 720-819-5115. We're less than a week away from an election here in Colorado. What do you think? Are we going to get more progressive? We're going more socialist? Mamdani style, baby. Democrats, socialists of America. We just haven't gone socialist enough in Colorado. Or do you think we'll see a turn to the right, particularly with some of these school board elections? If you live in contested areas, give us a call. We want to hear directly from you on what you're seeing on the ground. 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Capitalist Law text line at 720-819-5115. Guys, let's talk Gyrie's. Wife and I went to Gyrie's location in Parker, had an absolutely wonderful experience as we got to update our home a bit. We sat down with their professional designers, and they showed us an incredible selection of Hunter Douglas custom blinds, shades, and shutters. Look, I was a little overwhelmed at first. I'm not a home improvement pro. No Tim the Toolman Taylor here. But the designer was the pro and walked us through all the options, answered all my wife's questions. It was fantastic because if she was asking me, I would be like, I don't know. She got to sit down and talk with a pro and figure it all out. Best of all, they came out to our house, brought samples, color samples, design samples, even brought lasers and measured the windows, which was pretty cool. Their designers are the experts, and they can help you with everything from window treatments to full room decor. Here's the best part. They offer a personalized in-home consultation. They come directly to you, so you can get that same expert advice right in your own home. Do yourself a favor. Get started today. Visit GuyRys.com to schedule your in-home consultation. That's GUIRYS.com. GUIRYS.com. Go see the great people at Gyrie's. You'll be sure to thank me. All right, we'll continue. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Bill, I got some sad news.
What?
According to the Denverite, Denver has lost the 2030 gay games.
All right, crap.
In a bid to Perth amid rise in U.S. anti-trans politics. The city of Perth, Australia will host the 2030 gay games, beating out Denver for the opportunity to host the athletic event. I'm a little offended.
Yeah,
I thought we were the gayest state in the world.
Yeah, but no, probably not in
Jared
the world.
and, you know, everything. I mean, we have a huge pride parade.
Yeah, but I can see why they wouldn't want to, in America. Just based on
Seems
the
like this
direction
would
it's
be the
going.
place if you want to send a message and win others over, you'd go to where there may be some difference of opinion.
Yeah, no, and this sucks only because for me it's the tax base. That's the issue. Is just like talking with Robin Carnes. One of the biggest
you were
problems.
like, I'm happy to hold the Proud Boys.
Yeah, I do not care.
Conference.
Yeah, I mean, as long as they behave themselves and they're raising the tax base, go right ahead. You want to do whatever it is down, fine. I mean, I will put up with, and I don't care across the political spectrum, with reason, within reason. I wouldn't want to host a KKK rally here per se, but within reason. But yeah, I will take your silly signs, silly costumes, do whatever you want. And the bottom line is because I want you to come here, spend the monies, and raise our tax base. It's when we're talking to Robin Carnes, the candidate for Centennial City Council and current councilwoman, she talked about the challenges being faced by those retailers and those shops. And that is a majority of the tax base that you need. And that is a tremendous challenge, is how to get people back into those stores. That's what I'm focused on. If bringing the gay games here brings more people walking into those stores, yes, please. Yes, I will sign up. I will sit there and say, I don't have to listen to your politics. I don't have to agree with what you're doing. But if you're going to come here and spend money and you're not going to cause a scene and break stuff and start fires, great. Let's do this. Let's do this. This sucks. And again, I'm not talking politics. I just want them coming here to spend the monies.
Well, there's no way that Perth, Australia is more gay than we are.
Oh, I bet they're very gay.
How
They're
many
super gay.
how many lawsuits does Colorado have to have between Christians and LGBTQ?
I don't know. But
in order to be the gayest state in the nation. I mean, you have Jack Phillips, you have Lori Smith, you have this counselor. It's a constant battle.
Maybe that's the issue, is that it's a constant battle. Maybe the idea they go to Perth, Australia, with the idea that we're going to go somewhere where they're not fighting about whether or not we can exist, whether or not we should be represented in the community, whether or not we can, whether or not, no, it's the gay games. No.
Whether or not Christians can exist?
No, the issue is, but there's a fight here.
That's the
lawsuit. And so inside of Perth, there may not be that fight. And so that's the idea, is why go somewhere where there is contention over your group? And the same thing would be asked if a large Christian organization would come here and they were going to look at it. Would you want to come to Colorado? I know. That's my point. Would you want to stay in a place that you view as being contentious to what you're doing? So, yeah, unfortunately, that's why they're going to Perth. And it sucks. And again, I'm not talking politics. I want the taxes. That's what I want. I want the taxes, because the more the people from outside the country and the state come here, the less taxes I have to pay in the long run.
Maybe
Please,
Jared's
help me
just
out.
not gay enough.
Oh, no,
he's kind of... Is he super gay, or is he just kind of lighthearted?
No, he's just
gay?
he's just regular. Yeah, he's not flamboyant. No,
He's
he's just regular.
gay.
Yeah, he's not flamboyant. And we all know people that are flamboyant in it, and there are people that aren't. And then there are people you're like, well, wait, you're gay? They don't even, you have no idea. I know someone that works in the medical industry. You have no clue that he has been living with his partner, and they've been married for the last 10 years, and he's been living with his partner for more than 3 decades. You have no clue.
Jared, you're not gay enough.
Yeah, I don't know.
We lost the gay games.
Or maybe the fact is the state's not gay enough. That we got too many people questioning what's going on, but it sucks.
I don't know how you could get more gay. We have a big gay pride parade. We have a gay governor. How do you get the state more gay?
Yeah, but we did have a previous head of the Colorado GOP that basically said that God hates it. So, so there are issues. Just saying that we have issues. We are not the welcoming, embracing place.
Which state is gayer than Colorado at this point?
I don't know, but the issue is that the gay games could go anywhere. So it's not a matter of them. The issue is it's myopic to say it only has to be America. And so that's the issue, is we were competing on a global level. And globally, no, not the gayest. Sorry. Yeah. Unfortunate.
Sorry, Jared.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No gay games.
That stinks.
All right.
That really does
Gentlemen, if you're losing your hair, you need a simple solution that works. You want the best modern technology with top-rated physicians, something that's guaranteed to work. Guys, you need Dr. Tanya Pauls and her team at Advanced Hair. They've completely redefined hair restoration from the experience itself to their unmatched results. You got a receding hairline, bald spot, or thinning hair. Address them all with Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment in a calm, relaxed environment with the most experienced results and experienced professionals. Advanced Hair has performed tens of thousands of these breakthrough treatments, and get this, your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day. No one in Denver can offer anything like the Advanced FUE found at Advanced Hair, and I highly recommend their team. Look, it all starts with your free consultation. Just give them a call. See what they can do for you. Here's their phone number, 720-459-HAIR, 720-459-HAIR. If you qualify, you'll get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Refine your hairline with the team that's redefined hair restoration. That's 720-459-HAIR, 720-459-HAIR, advancedhair.com, advancedhair.com. Join the conversation. Are you disappointed? Denver lost out on its bid. I think it was like in the final two. I think it was between us and Perth.
It was. We were the final two, yeah.
We lost out on the 2030 gay games because apparently we're not gay enough. What do you think? Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. What do you think Jared Polis is thinking this morning? Give us a call. Would love to talk to you. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
He's probably thinking he's glad he doesn't have to run with a gay torch or something. He's like, I don't have that kind of cardio. This is just ridiculous. All right. This is 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Our good friend Robin Carnes reminding me that I got it wrong, as I normally do. It's not 500 doors. It's 500 miles walked that she and her team have done, which in my mind, 500 doors is still super impressive for candidates to be out there talking face-to-face with 500. But no, they've walked 500 miles in Centennial, which is amazing. And text messages coming in. Who is gayer than Colorado? I don't know. I think Colorado is. Yeah. So join the conversation.
We are probably the gayest state.
Denver has lost out on the gay games bid. With the most awkward transition ever.
I'm
a
just saying,
candidate that wants to now run for re-election.
Problem is, I have got a bulk order of glitter that's in my garage. I got to do something with it. I'm just saying I need some suggestions.
And I missed out on the ability to have all those fun interviews.
I know. So sad.
Because I like talking to people.
Yes, you do, and you're good at it. Yeah, let's do something else.
Now let's pivot with the funniest transition in radio. A guy that's running for re-election. Senator John Carson joins us. Good morning, John. Thanks for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
How are you?
Well, good morning, Jeff and Bill. Thanks for giving me a few minutes. I'm announcing my re-election to the state senate today. Having a gathering with some of my supporters, and so I thought I'd give you a call and chat a little about the future of the legislature.
Yeah, glad to have you with us. You were, I believe, appointed. Is that correct, to fill a vacancy, and now you're running for re-election?
Yes, sir. I was appointed in January to succeed Senator Kevin Van Winkle, who was the incumbent, and now I will be running for re-election in next fall.
So you looked at the state capitol and said, "That's so much fun. I'm going to spend more time down there." Tell us why you're deciding to go for re-election.
Well, it is a challenge, no question, for Republican, for conservative. We've got 12 of 35 seats in the state senate. But we gotta get some more balance and common sense down there. So I'm going to throw my hat in the ring again and hope we can get a couple of pickups around the state. We've got some prospects to get our Republican numbers up, but we really, the one thing that's going to change the direction of this state is to get more Republicans in the state legislature. It's pretty simple. The math has got to change, and we've got to up those numbers. And, we got to focus on keeping taxes low, protecting Tabor, fighting all these endless regulations they put on business, the lawsuits that are being authorized, and all the litigation that's raising the cost of insurance in this state.
And John, how many Senate seats need to be retaken in order for it to become a majority? Do you know that question off the top of your head?
Yeah, well, we would need 6 to get back an actual majority. But
then Michael Bennett and Phil Weiser can't do much of anything. So that would be great.
Yeah. In fact, if we pick up 2 or 3 or 4, we'd be in a really strong position because there are a few Democrats that have been voting a little more pro-business, and they've actually formed a caucus, some of the more middle-of-the-road Democrats, to fight the far left in their party.
John, we're up against a hard break. I'm sorry to cut you short, but we sure appreciate you calling in to give us your time and the breaking news that John Carson running for state senate. His website, carsonforstatesenate.com. carsonforstatesenate.com. Out there making a difference. One of the good ones down there, so let's keep them there. All right, we'll continue. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is 710 KNUS.